Dark Age of Camelot is a very special MMORPG that has many differences from other MMOs that really sets it apart, and I have a lot of people in the community that will be starting out in Dark Age of Camelot as beginners with the Eden Fresh Start server coming later this week. So this will be a guide for everything you need to know to get started and understand the basics of Dark Age of Camelot and to ensure you have an enjoyable time. This is also a great refresher for those that have been away for a long time. Please like this video and subscribe for more. This guide is good for live official Dark Age of Camelot as well as private servers such as upcoming Fresh Start Eden server coming for December 10th. I have a whole video about it if you're interested in joining our community there. Also, there are chapters on this video so you can skip around to what you would like to know. First up, Dark Age of Camelot is actually 3 different worlds or realms in one, and as soon as you start the MMO you'll have to pick one of these realms. They are at war with one another and each has its own content, world, classes, and races independent of one another. This is a major differentiator for Dark Age of Camelot. Playing on a different realm is a completely different game. The options are, first up, Albion. Based on Britain Arthurian lore, King Arthur has died and the lands of Albion are struggling to uphold law and honor under a new king. From the rolling hills of Camelot to the mountainous peaks of Snowdonia, Albion is a land of nobles and honor, with their major city being none other than Camelot itself. Here are the race options and what classes they can be. After this, I'll break down a quick summary of each of Albion's classes. Now you can pause here if you'd like to research and look at the different race options. Now let's talk about the classes for Albion. First up, we have the Armsman. This is the main stereotypical tank class, can use almost any weapon, wears plate, and uses crossbows for range, and one of the few Albion classes that can use pole arms as well. Then we have the Kabbalist, spellcasters that manipulate spirit magic, summon spirit pets, and can enfeeble their enemies with such as blind and diseases. The Cleric, the primary healing class for Albion, amazing buffs and heals, and can get scrappy as well with some smite abilities. The Friar, a hybrid cleric fighter who can use staves. Also, reminds me of a monk healer combo. The Infiltrator, a rogue class that can stealth and backstab. Heretic, often not available on private servers such as Eden, and they're kind of the opposite of a cleric. They have left the church and are now more combat and high damage focused spells. The Mauler, melee with some spells. They're kind of a brawling class with elemental abilities like gravity and magnetism auras. The Mercenary, a light DPS fighter that can dual wield and very positional. The Minstrel, hybrid rogue bard class that uses songs to enhance the party and crowd control with a tiny touch of stealth. The Necromancer, a pet class that depends entirely on their pet to survive. They are also known to be a mana battery and very solo friendly. The Paladin, a hybrid plate wearing tank that uses chants to aid the party. The Reaver, a hybrid necromancer fighter that wears chain and DPS with dark powers. The Scout, the archer class for Albion, using longbows at range, and they also get some stealth type abilities as well. The Sorcerer, spellcaster that focuses on body, matter, and mind. The main Albion crowd control class, but also has dots and can tame a pet. The Thurgist, spellcasters that specialize in air, ice, and earth, and calling forth elemental pets. The Wizard, elemental spellcasters, fire and ice specs, and very high DPS nukes. Now next up is the realm of Midgard. Based on Norse lore, from the snowy lands of Glacier and the fjord come the legions of the Norse, heeding the call of ancient gods such as Odin and Thor to establish rule of Midgard over all the realms, from snowy plains to swampy marshlands and evergreen forests. Here are the races of Midgard. Feel free to pause and help make a decision what you would like to play if you decide to choose Midgard. Now let's run through a quick summary of the classes of Midgard. We've got the Berserker, which is light fighters who can dual wield for fast melee combat. We have the Bone Dancer, which is a pet caster able to summon several pets at once, great for solo play, but has a very high skill ceiling. The Healer, this is the main healing class for Midgard, able to heal and buff as well as crowd control abilities. The Hunter, the ranger of Midgard with stealth abilities and can charm animals. The Mauler, melee with some spells, a brawling class with elemental abilities like gravity and magnetism auras. The Rune Master, uses mystical knowledge of runes to make deadly spells for offensive firepower. The Savage, basically a monk class that can wear studded leather and uses sharp or blunt gloves to beat down their enemies. The Shadow Shadowblade, dual-wielding rogue class with tricks and sneaks. The Shaman, the troll and kobold tribal spellcasters with healing and DPS magic. The Skald, fighting bard class, uses musical abilities to buff allies with some crowd control as well. The Spirit Master, summoning and controlling undead Norse spirits to aid them. The Thane, this is a tank class that has offensive lightning-based magic. The Valkyrie, not available in most private servers, it's both melee and magic, swords, spears, shields, and cone AoE spells. The Warlock, spell weaving with curses, hexes, and utility options. The Warrior, the main tank of Midgard, no magic, all weapons, and heavy armor. And lastly, we have Hibernia. Based on Celtic lore, Hibernia is comprised of nature-worshipping Celts, with magic running deep from the capital city of Tir na Nog through rolling hills, lakes, and rivers. Hibernia is a realm of otherworldly, elvish high fantasy. Here are the race options for Hibernia. Feel free to pause the video and peruse the options. And now let's take a quick look at the class options for Hibernia. The Animist, spellcasting with affinity to plants, can animate plant life and use them to devastate their enemies. The Banshee, not available in most private servers. Magic comes from sound, and you have to be a female to be this class. It's actually the only gender-locked class in the game. Has point-blank AoEs, ranged AoEs, and cone DPS. The Bard, straight from Celtic lore, aids allies with song and can fight as well. Blade Master is a light fighter, very positional melee fighter with dual wielding. The Champion, a fighter spellcaster that specializes in debuffing enemies. The Druid, the main healer for Hibernia with nature-based spells and a decent fighter as well. Can also summon nature spirits and companions to aid. The Eldritch, a powerful destructive magic bending the elements for DPS type class. The Enchanter, of course they can charm creatures, great crowd control, and DPS spells. The Hero, the main tank of Hibernia. They have no magic, but they can use all weapons and heavy armor. The Mauler, a melee with some spells, a brawling class with elemental abilities like gravity and magnetism auras. The Mentalist, spellcasting class that uses mind magic and can heal. The Nightshade, a rogue class that stealths, backstabs, and has some magic. Ranger, the Archer of Hibernia, has some magical spells and can dual wield when in close combat. The Veilwalker, using scythes. They are a very glass, cloth-wearing melee DPS class. The Vampire, not available in most private servers, a fighter that can cast vampire magic with their left hand while holding a piercing weapon in their right hand. The Warden, a hybrid healer fighter. They specialize in weapons as well as healing and buffs. Alright, so you got your race, you got your class, you made your character, and now you're in the world of Dark Age of Camelot in your realm of choice. The first big hiccup for Dark Age of Camelot shows up for most players, the UI. Not only is it different than most MMORPGs, but for most people's monitors, it is extremely too small, a common issue in older MMOs. Well, first up, let me show you how to make it bigger, because it's not sitting in your options anywhere, and most people, even a lot of veterans, don't know this trick. I personally just learned this not long ago. All you have to do is hover your mouse, as you see here, in the upper left area, just like I showed. Click and hold your mouse and drag. As you drag, the UI will grow. Get it the right size for you, and then just grab the corners of each one of the elements of the UI and move it where you would like. Some of the UI elements might need you to hold shift to drag, but every single piece can be moved. Once you have your UI nice and neat, it's time to figure out where everything is. Pressing escape does give you the option for keyboard binding and configurations where you can change keyboard shortcuts for opening inventory, etc. But basically it comes down to this. This menu over here is just basically all of your things. There are tabs for your character, for inventory, for your abilities. Everything you need basically is in this menu on different tabs, which normally you just leave this open. And the inventory is worth talking about because it's done so differently than most MMOs. In Dark Age of Camelot, this is your inventory tab, and you have bag slots. There are several tabs of bags, but that's all you get. This is your inventory. Don't go looking for bag upgrades. This is what you get. You may also want to press M and open the map and use it as sort of a mini map. If you've adjusted your UI size, it serves well as a little mini map and can help you from getting disoriented. Depending on if you're on live or your private server, the information on the map could vary. There is an option at the top to switch to different maps to help you navigate the world as well. Now let's talk about combat gameplay. So Dark Age of Camelot is a tab target MMO, and the abilities feel strange in how they implement it first. So let me try to explain. It is worth noting that in 2001, when Dark Age of Camelot launched, their main call to fame were their epic wars, where even in 2001, hundreds of armies clashed against hundreds of others. To make this work, especially back then, when you click an ability, it queues it. It's not an automatic thing where it happens immediately. It just queues that ability up. You can queue another one right behind it while you're waiting to help you kind of strategize. There are combos that you'll have to learn as you level up, and you kind of figure those out by reading their descriptions and also by paying attention to your combat chat, which if you try to click something, it will say you need to do this first before you can do that, right? Which by default, by the way, your combat chat is a separate chat window. And that brings us real quick, we need to talk about how to delve for information, for items, spells, or whatever. So you can just right click things to bring up this menu, some information here, but if you press the info button right here, you will get more specific information about that item or that spell. You also want to use a torch when it is nighttime. It gets pretty dark at night, and all characters have a torch to help. You can either go to the options and change what keybind torch is. I always make it T because that's what it used to be back in the day, and there is a shortcut to get to keyboard bindings, which is by typing /keyboard to open the menu. Now also about the torch though, when you're in PvP areas, which you're not going to accidentally go into in Dark Age of Camelot, you either have to go to the frontiers, very obvious that you're headed there, or you have to use the channeler to get to a Battlegrounds. But when you're in PvP, you might want to turn your torch off because that makes you a literal beacon for the enemy to see exactly where you are. Now let's talk about the many avenues to get experience in Dark Age of Camelot. So you can level up and acquire new skills, spells, and get into RvR and all the fun stuff. Towns and villages offer quests that are generally relevant to the level of mobs around that village or town. Now depending on your server, it can vary the amount of quests that are available, but in live and on Eden, there will be quests to grab that will automatically, upon accepting, go to your journal. You can open your journal by default with the J key, and by using your map, which will show marks of the objective and the description from the quest, you can complete these for XP and for item upgrades. There are also public dungeons, and there are battlegrounds, which the battlegrounds are public zone-in areas where PvP against the other realms goes down. If you're interested in dungeons, there is a teleporter in towns generally, especially first starting out right outside your major city in your realm, to take you to the various dungeons with quests right outside for taking down these bosses and more. You'll want to find and speak with the channeler also found in villages and towns, especially right outside your major city, that can take you to an appropriate battleground for your character. These are like smaller PvP areas where you can earn realm points, which are like AAs for EverQuest fans, to increase your power and strength of your character and learn the ropes of capturing keeps. You can also grab up PvE quests here, and when doing PvE content in a PvP environment, you get massive bonuses to experience gains. Also remember that Dark Age of Camelot utilizes group bonuses for experience, so parties can be up to 8 people in a group, and the higher level people are in the party, they will get the most experience. But there are bonuses for people who do the most damage, and for support roles who do a lot of healing, crowd control, or debuffs. There is a straight bonus for being in a group as well. The more monsters and players involved in a battle, the higher the group bonus. You also find Tinderboxes dropped from mobs. You'll want to keep those. You can use these to make fires, and any player near this fire gets faster regens for health, endurance, and mana. Dark Age of Camelot is an MMO where roots, mezzas, dots, direct damage, AoEs, quick cast, range, melee, stuns, pets all come together when in a party to provide infinite entertainment. Before I wrap this up, don't forget that Dark Age of Camelot is renowned for having the greatest PvP to ever grace an MMORPG, and that is for a very good reason. And even if you aren't normally a PvP kind of person, gather up a group or join in on the action, and it will not take long for you to realize that the round versus round versus round system is one of a kind and more addicting than any other system I've ever found in any MMO to date. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to the members of Napalm. They have strapped on their armor and are casting the spells of awesome by supporting this channel and keeping me full-time every month. Thank you so very much. And I think you are interested in becoming a member. You can do so by clicking join down below this video and pick a level that is right for you. And I would like to give a very special thank you to the Lords of Napalm. Bounty code Jared Woodhouse, Daimlos, Farthest Reach, Sparrow, Christopher Hensel, Random Rob, Zelik Lid, Rodniel Mom, Vander, Gallering Moonsong, What's the Takeaway, Trips, Daniel Cordley, Richard Glass, and Remy D. Thank you for your highest tier membership. Once you start grasping all of its concepts, I am forming a guild. We are voting currently for which realm. Check the description for a link to go vote. Currently, Midgard is winning, and we will be heading into the fresh start Dark Age of Camelot brand new Eden server launching on December 10th, 2022, making a guild and playing this excellent award-winning MMO together. I hope you will join us. There is also a community gathering for Hibernia with the Pantheon Plus team. I am normally an Albion, but we'll be going with whatever direction the community wants so that we can enjoy this classic MMO together. Don't forget to support the live official servers if you decide to join the private server Eden with us, as the developers deserve their cut for keeping this MMO alive and online after all of these years. And I'd like to mention that when the official classic server finally freaking launches, I will be switching over to that for sure. And I hope these tips helped you get started and going in Dark Age of Camelot. Leave me a comment down below if something in here really helped you out a lot, and what race class you are thinking of going with, or what your main used to be back in the day, what server you're from and you used to play back in the day, and I'll see you all on the battlefields of the frontiers. And until next time, my friends, God bless and happy gaming.